Last week, I started a report on the defense of the United States to see just how well defended we are from enemy attack. I thought the best thing to do was to see how it went myself and take a ride in a jet fighter. So I came out to Andrews Air Force Base, one of the very important bases along the eastern seaboard. And as a matter of fact, it's taken me a little time to take this jet ride. The Air Force is very thorough. They not only required me to go through a very careful physical examination, but put me through a lot of briefings, important briefings, to show me what it was like. And finally, I'm here with Captain Ben Murph, and we're going to take a scramble. We're going to go out as if we were to intercept an unidentified plane off the Atlantic coast. Several fighters are going along with us, just as if an enemy, a potential enemy, was attacking. The only difference is going to be that while these pilots get off the ground in 5 minutes, I'm not going to be quite that quick. But aside from that, it's going to be just a regular scramble and intercept. Well, Captain, any last-minute instructions?
No, sir. Let's go.
All right, fine.
Well, I got strapped in so tight I could hardly move. Parachute over my shoulders, sat on my life raft, a Mae West over my chest, and most uncomfortable of all, an oxygen mask. Meanwhile, over in combat headquarters on a big glass board, they chart any suspicious planes flying over the Atlantic coast and track every movement on this tracking board. Suddenly, an unknown plane was reported approaching the Atlantic coast. It's chalked up on the tracking board.
5030, heading west.
Immediately, the whole complex machinery geared to defend the United States sprang into action. Members of the battle staff, the Army, Navy, Marines, Civil Defense, all cooperate.
He's in Baker Howe, 3035.
It was decided this was an enemy plane. Warning red was flashed on the big board. Red means enemy attack. These pilots sit day and night ready for such a warning. It comes. This begins the scramble. These boys really move fast. The mechanic starts warming up the engines even before the fighter pilots hit the hangar deck. Here they come. Captain Murph jumps into the plane. I had been strapped in ahead of him because I didn't want to slow down the operation. I sat in the rear observer seat. Captain Murph is in the pilot seat. The chocks are pulled out from under the wheels. He tells me to keep my arms inside the cockpit so they won't get caught by the canopy. The canopy comes down and we're off. Only 5 minutes between the warning and the takeoff, all because every man knew exactly what to do. Meanwhile, the tracking map is watching the enemy. Our F-94C gets into the air, followed by the F-86Ds or Sabrejets. Sabrejets were the backbone of the Air Force in the Korean War. Colonel Cavanes at Combat Operations gave us directions to locate the enemy.
Don't stop at the heading of 040 degrees, over.
Near 1 turning starboard 040.
Through a little microphone in my oxygen mask, I could hear the pilots talking to each other and to the ground. They speak a language all their own.
X-ray 2 info, what do you read?
X-ray 2 is a 5 bar.
Roger, are you holding hands?
Roger, holding hands.
Part of this defense network was far away out to sea, where the Navy stationed submarine patrols. On the deck of this sub, a huge radar is watching the high seas, and above the sea, a super constellation constantly patrols the Atlantic coast, up and down, back and forth, carrying with it another radar, also looking for unknown planes. It's a protective net few enemy planes could penetrate. Built on stilts right in the sea are Texas towers, another part of this network of defense. Men are on the alert, watching day and night. And on the coast, giant radar also watch. While the Ground Observer Corps scan the skies night and day, they're an all-important part of the defense network. Meanwhile, our fighter planes are getting nearer the target. They talk back and forth, preparing for the enemy.
Target crossing from port to starboard, 1. Target range is on 9 miles.
Finally, right in the middle of the radar scope appears a dot. That is the target, the enemy. The pilot sets his rockets. The aiming is automatic by radar. The jet fires. Once, twice, straight to the target, as if drawn by a magnet. But if an enemy bomber should sneak through, the Army is waiting with anti-aircraft guns and the famed Nike missile. These Army missile bases are all around our big cities. You don't see them, but they are there, ready for precision firing at any enemy that might sneak through our outer defenses. These Nikes are fired with deadly precision. Nothing is left to chance. Above is the enemy target, a drone, of course. Nobody in it. Can the Nike hit it? The Nike moves so fast you can hardly see it. It hits. Mission accomplished, the fighters fly home. Back at the Combat Operations Center, the big board is scrubbed. One enemy plane intercepted, marked off, detected, and destroyed. Captain Murph piloted our F-94C back to Andrews Air Base, headquarters of the 85th Air Division. It was an exciting trip, at least to me. These pilots do it every day, of course, a skilled, technical, difficult job, as I was able to see firsthand. I got back a little worried over some of the fast flying, but none were worse for wear. And certain that day or night, the radar watch continues.
Captain, that was some flight. That's one of these things you'll want to do once, but I'm not sure I would again. You enjoy these flights?
Yes, sir. I've had over 2,000 of them, and I still get a big kick out of every one of them.
2,000 flights?
Yes, sir.
Well, I think I'm glad I'm a newspaper man. However, my admiration for you and these other pilots really goes up. I don't see how you handle all those gadgets and those cramped quarters.
Well, it's just like moving into a house and get used to it. You get where you know where every one of them is.
Almost feel them in the dark?
Right, yes, sir.
Well, I had a hard time breathing with this thing on. Did you have trouble?
Well, that's another thing you get used to. You see the oxygen's coming into you under pressure, and you have to exhale under pressure, and you get used to it.
Well, I didn't. And also, when we started, my neck snapped back.
That was when we kicked the afterburner in. Right out there, we started takeoff roll to get about a quick 2,000 pounds extra thrust there, and it does pop your neck back.
How does it affect your neck?
I've grown about 2 inches in collar size in the last 2 or 3 years since flying jets.
Well, I can understand that. However, we certainly did make speed. And to tell the people who weren't with us how it went, we were flying on the left wing, as I understand it, of the number 3 plane.
Right, yes.
Number 3 fighter. You call it a dog?
86D, right, 86 Dog.
And when we get out there, it fired its rockets at the simulated enemy. And then you let me fire rockets. And that was a terrible jolt when we did that. What was that?
Well, that was the impact of the rockets going off, and actually we only fired a half of our load.
Suppose we'd fired the full load.
It would be quite a jolt. Fire all of our load.
It's enough of a jolt the way it was. It seemed as if that plane was almost standing still in the air. Well, then on the way back, we simulated being an enemy plane ourselves as if we were attacking the United States. And some of your fighters came up and intercepted us. It was a very dramatic experience. Now, then another thing that happened I didn't quite understand. When we landed, there was another jolt.
Right, that was our drag chute that we pop immediately on landing, and it the big air cushion stirs like, and it slows our landing roll down about 40%.
Well, it certainly did stop us almost in our tracks. Well, it was a really exciting adventure, and I appreciated going with you.
Well, that's certainly, I'm glad you enjoyed it. I would like to see you come back and fly with us again.
Well, I'm not so sure I will, but thanks for the
All
invitation.
right, sir.
Well, we'll be back in just a minute. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to report to you that as a somewhat cynical newspaper man, I was very much impressed with my visit to Andrews Air Force Base and the work they're doing to protect the United States. This is just one of 16 divisions, all working together, working with the Army, with the Navy, the Marine Corps, and with Civil Defense and Canada to be on alert in case an enemy plane comes our way. Our men, our pilots, our maintenance men are highly skilled. The morale is high. It seemed to me, from watching them work, flying with them, that we can be proud of them and that we can be reasonably confident of the defense of the United States.